I was delighted when I was invited to represent Bishop Mayer today and to have the privilege of sharing in baptism and confirmation, and really a great day in the life of this parish family. This is I just want to say that this is a very special parish. In many ways, all churches are special and unique and different. None is perfect, and none is all bad, nor is none just right. I love the statement of a very old Presbyterian minister who said, if you ever find a church that is exactly the way you want it to be, you will be the only member there. But this is a warm and welcoming congregation, and 18 and a half years ago, when I retired as bishop out in West Texas, which is the diocese where your Bishop Mayer is also the bishop now, and came back to my hometown of Fort Worth, we were welcomed here in so many wonderful ways, and many of you who are here this morning were a part of that welcome in a wonderful variety of expression of love and acceptance. My wife at the time was getting deeply into Alzheimer's disease, and we always sat right over here where the confirmation class is, and she felt very much at home, and I appreciated that so much. And we had her funeral here. I live on the west side of Fort Worth, and the local rector, the day after she died, who had not come to the house or seen us at all during her long illness, came and sat on the sofa and said, when are we having the service at our parish? I'm not going to tell you which one, but if you thought a little bit, you could figure it out. And I said, sorry, you're really nice to offer, but it's going to be at her home parish, which is St. Martin's. And it was a wonderful occasion, as sad as it was, and there are one or two of you, some of you who are here this morning who were there. I also need to say that I am the new assistant bishop of the Diocese of Fort Worth. I've been looking for work all these years. About 3 months, I've said that before probably here, and it's really the truth. But about 2 months ago, Bishop Mayer called me up and said, Sam, would you be an assistant bishop? Because, you know, do you all know that your bishop has, I think he just lacks 40 of having half of the counties in Texas. Some of you all may not know that Texas has, I believe, 254 counties. And Bishop Mayer, under his aegis, has 142 of those 254 counties. And I said, well, what an invitation. How much does it pay? 0. But I love him in so many ways, and I love Fort Worth. There's some things about it I don't like, but that goes for us everywhere. And some of those things become particularly obvious in election season, and I'll try to be quiet about that the rest of the sermon. But I felt very honored that he would want to. I want to say, though, that one of my lovely new friends, I've known him forever, but we've gotten quite close in recent years, is Bishop Pye, who was your last provisional bishop, and now he's also an assistant bishop. And I said, I will be the assistant if I can be the assistant to the assistant, so that when there's a problem, maybe you and Scott can have it all worked out by the time it gets down to me. So that's kind of my philosophy, and I figure as long as they don't pay me, I can say things like that. It is really, really special. This service is going to take a long time because we're going to do so many wonderful things, and I'm not going to preach real briefly. It's not going to be real long, I hope, but it's not going to be terribly brief. And I just want to tell you, if anybody needs to take a little rest during any of it, I will not be offended. But the main thing is that we're doing some really exciting things when we baptize and when we confirm and when we welcome new brothers and sisters into a Christian community. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening this morning. Interestingly enough, we're doing it on Good Shepherd Sunday, one of my old pals here, when I first saw her, she said, "Well, Sam, what are you preaching on? The Good Shepherd?" I said, "Actually, I'm not preaching on that." But I have something else that I want to preach about. But it's just a great occasion. And as I told the young people and the children a while ago, after all this is over, there's going to be a really nice party, so you have something to look forward to. I've recently discovered in a Christian journal that I read, it's called Christian Century, and I like it because it's very broad-minded, and I might as well tell you right now, I just kind of like to be at home. The official title for bishops is the Right Reverend. I know most of you know that. If you don't, it really does not matter that much. But I have a cousin here who's fairly new Episcopalian, and she said, "Sam, you do not need to be called the Right Reverend. You need to be called the Left Reverend." And that may be offensive to some of you, and I don't tell it for you to be offended, but I just want you to know that I love this kind of thought and this kind of work that one gets when you work carefully with a magazine, a journal like Christian Century, and we hear about what other parts of the body of Christ and what other parts of God's people in the world, our Jewish friends, our Muslim friends, our Hindu friends, our Buddhist friends, the list goes on and on. My wife Isabel and I have spent the weekend, 2 big nights at Congregation Bethel on the south side of Fort Worth for the 32nd anniversary and retirement celebration of their rabbi. And it's been a wonderful weekend for us as we have been welcomed there and as we have been able to observe a Jewish congregation in many ways at its best. And this rabbi is known for his friendship and his willingness to work with people and just be with people who are different from him and his people. The article that attracted my attention is called Becoming the Gospel. Becoming the Gospel. And that's what I want to just kind of reflect on a little bit with you all today. And I'm not so much saying just sharing the gospel or telling other people about the gospel or holding it up in any kind of a worshipful way, as important as it is. You can tell it's important because we have a special ceremony before we read the gospel, and the deacon reads the gospel and comes out into the congregation, etc., etc., etc. But it just, I'm thinking about becoming the gospel. That's you, and this is I, together, becoming the gospel. Now remember what the gospel is. The gospel is God's good news in Jesus Christ. God sent God's Son, Jesus Christ. We celebrate his birth at Christmas. We go through a period of his teaching and the light of Christ being shared with the rest of the world, the whole world. And then we talk about the death of Christ at Good Friday and in Holy Week. We prepare for that during Lent. And then, as we did 3 weeks ago today, celebrated the resurrection of Christ, the new life of Christ. And all of that means that for you and for me, we have hope. We have hope. We have forgiveness, and we have new life, and we are called to be reconcilers, to be reconciled ourselves with each other and with God and within ourselves, and we are promised new life after we die. It's pretty obvious by the youth of so many of you, it's a long, long time for most of you before you have to worry about dying. But for some of us, it's a little more personal and it's a little closer. But because of the gospel, the good news of Christ, it means we have a new life. We're always loved. God doesn't approve everything we do. We know that for sure. But God forgives us and gives us a new chance. And we are people of grace. We are always people of hope. I think that means a lot when we live in a very violent and scary world, which is the world of 2016, these fairly early years in the 21st century. Now, it means if we're going to be those who become the gospel, that's you and that's I. Being clergy or any of that has nothing to do with it, absolutely nothing to do with it. Most of all, we're human beings made by God. Now we say brothers and sisters in the faith, I'd rather say in the faiths, with a plural. But together, there are all kinds of possibilities, all kinds of opportunities. There's a fairly new priest down in Port Aransas, and when Hurricane, I forget, there's so many of them, Ike, I believe, 8 years ago, came through Houston, where he was living then. His house was protected, but he and his family were without any power for 17 days. Suddenly he was able to get hold of a little mini generator, and there was one light bulb in his house. And suddenly all these rooms that had been dark so long, became light. Or at least there was more light than there had been. It was a reminder to him that there is new life, and that there is all kinds of power in the light of Christ, the light of Christ. We are unlimited, as it were, in what we can be and do as those who become the gospel. He said that whole room where that little teeny generator was, the whole room reappeared from the light of that one bulb. Almost they hadn't seen the room, as it were, in the 17 days. So I just want to say, you all and I are people of possibility and of opportunity, no matter what your age is. No matter what your age is. I took care of an aunt who lived to be 100, and every time I went to see her, she said, "Sam, why do you think I'm living so long? I'm living longer than anybody in our whole family." And I did not have an easy answer for her. I simply would say, "Miriam, I really don't know why you're living so long. But I know there must be some purpose. There must be some purpose." And I think it has to do with, there were some discoveries that she would have the opportunity to make. She could be a model for other people. My son particularly, who went to see her so many times, and he was a young man in graduate school, and the list goes on, as you know. But we don't know exactly what all we have ahead of us, and we often sell short the possibilities of new opportunities and new experiences. That's one thing. Another thing is that it is really something that goes on beyond ourselves. If we are attuned to the gospel, it means that you all, in one way or another, are going to want to go out from this place, or maybe you're here mostly on Sundays, but I know your schedule, many times some of you the rest of the week. But you want to go out of this place into Keller, South Lake, Fort Worth, Grapevine, wherever you go for the rest of the week. Letting people know in some way, that you've been touched by the gospel in your home church at this altar on Sunday morning. You all have a wonderful, wonderful parish mission statement. And it says, our mission is to be Jesus Christ. Listen to this. Jesus Christ, no less than Jesus Christ. I'm going to editorialize a little bit as we go on. Jesus Christ, heart, hands, and feet to our neighbors, no matter where they are on their journey in faith. It's brief, it's powerful. If there ever were a welcome statement to others of all kinds, of all interests, of all values, that's it, and that is the good news. So remember, that is the mission statement at this time in history of St. Martin's in the Field. Sorry, St. Martin's. I do know where I am. St. Martin's. Okay, now we're getting down to some really good news, and I particularly want you all to listen to this. It means so clearly that you don't have to be anyone else. You don't have to be like anyone else. You are invited to be yourselves. To be yourselves. You are invited to be yourselves and to celebrate that the very best you can. The very best you can. I was reading about an artist that I really don't know much about, but she was writing about Andy Warhol. And many of us know of the art of Andy Warhol. Some would say it's not art at all, but it's just a copy of a tomato can and things like that. But hang on and hang in with him because he had a lot to do and a lot to say. Kind of crazy and spooky and quirky and many other things, but he had such influence on the art world in the latter part of the 20th century in the United States and throughout the world. And as Eva Hess, who was a lot younger than he, I believe, said that he wanted to be the most as an artist that he could be. And then she said, in the way he encouraged her and gave her a boost, said the most as an artist that one can be. And she went on to say that his art and his statement and his person are the same. His art and what he was saying about it and his person were all the same. Not part of me here and part of me over here and part of me here and part of me trying to fill out this image for me and what these people expect of me, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just the way we are. Just the way we are is the way God has made us, and it's okay. And it does not have to be different. It doesn't mean that we cannot improve, that maybe we drop some habits that we should not have, and we need to take on some things that we do not have, that are not going on in our lives. But who we are and what we offer when we come and gather around the table, and when we receive the water of baptism, and when our children and our godchildren receive it, and when we receive the bread and wine of no less than Christ's body and blood, we're just fine as we are. That is really good news also, and I think it has to do with becoming the gospel, not just sharing the gospel or talking about it or selling somebody a book about it, but really just being the gospel as who we are. I want to say also what I'm talking about today is a mystery. I've been doing this for about 58 years this June, and in many ways I still don't know what I'm talking about. There's so many questions that we are encouraged in this wonderful church of ours to ask and inquire about and study and say, you know, I just can't accept that right now. I might later, but this is where I am on my journey right now. This is what means something to me. And around this I can pray. I can't pray about this, or I can't do this, whatever. But there's some great mystery that I think does not get solved until we literally go with God into our new and heavenly lives. You know, we spent a lot of time in the few weeks after Easter talking about Moses and the Exodus, leaving Egypt, becoming free, the Jewish people becoming free. Liberation. It's our story too, of course. And I ran across this little line in Exodus early this week that Moses drew near to the thick darkness where God was. The thick darkness where God was. You and I like clarity, and we like things to be black and white with very little gray. Very little gray. We like it either yes or no. We want to have clear answers and quick answers. And many of us have absolutely become slaves to modern technology because they are always giving us answers or telling us somebody to call or giving us some message. And we get so involved with things being quick and easy and clear that we have a hard time with mystery. one of the things that we call the Eucharist, I don't hear it so much anymore, but we used to, is the Holy Mysteries. The Holy Mysteries. I love it that our new Archbishop of Canterbury says that holiness is not tidy. Holiness is not tidy. We're in the business of becoming holy. But to get from here to there is often messy and awkward and has a lot of detours. I'm willing to bet that all of the grown people who are being confirmed today have had many detours and many bumps along the road. Many bumps along the road. And if you haven't, you will, because it's part of the human journey. But spirituality so often is messy. And I can really recommend to you a lovely, quick little paperback book called Messy Spirituality, written by a person, a minister out in California who prides himself on having gotten kicked out of the very conservative seminary that he attended when he was really young, getting ordained in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and really beginning to see how the stories that Jesus told and the stories about Jesus were not about perfectly organized, perfectly obedient, perfectly disciplined people. Spirituality, holiness, is messy and often untidy. There are very few straight paths to the wonderful things that are being done in this service today. And we honor everywhere we've been and everywhere we've gone, because all of them together bring us here, and we think of all the places we will go in the future. We really are new creations every day, absolutely every day. I ask you who are being sponsors in baptism, parents of baptized people, newly baptized people, those being confirmed and those being received, please, when you have a chance, think about becoming the gospel. Pray about it, meditate on it, talk about it. Say, that doesn't mean a thing to me, what that old white-headed bishop was talking about today. But just be a little bit open and ask questions about it. One thing I know for sure, the Episcopal Diocese of Fort Worth and the body of Christ, the whole body of Christ, is very blessed to have each one of you in our midst and in its midst. Have a great journey. It will not all be easy, but may be a very blessed one. And I promise you that you will always have Jesus Christ, the shepherd, Jesus Christ with you, wherever you are and wherever you go. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.